Road trips had never agreed with Leah Morgan. They never would. The serpentine highway cutting through Colorado's dense pine forests triggered more nausea than the winding turns themselves, yet she remained silent. Words had been scarce between them all morning. Matthew, her spouse of 7 years, gripped the wheel with focused determination. His left hand rested lazily on the steering wheel, while his right drummed anxiously against his leg. Soft classical melodies drifted from the radio, an unfamiliar station without vocals or interruptions. Their destination was a lakeside retreat, near Stillwater Lake, a place untouched by their presence for years. During their last visit, they were newlyweds, giddy from inexpensive wine and drunk on shared joy. Leah recalled plunging into the icy waters purely to demonstrate her toughness. Compared to him, he had rescued her trembling and kissed her as though she were ablaze. Now the atmosphere between them felt more frigid than those lake waters had ever been. "Snow's expected tonight," Matthew finally spoke, shattering the quiet. Leah gazed. Through the window, storm clouds stretched overhead, thin and discolored like bruises painted across the heavens. "Did you remember the blankets?" she inquired. He gave a brief nod. "In the trunk. The cabin's heated." A moment passed before he added, almost carelessly, "This will benefit us both." Both of them. That phrase once felt like coming home. Now it rang hollow like a rehearsed lie. Leah adjusted her position slightly, repositioning her legs she could no longer feel. The accident had changed everything. A hydraulic lift and specialized car modifications enabled her travel, but every road bump served as a reminder that her body functioned differently now, if it functioned at all. "I appreciate you wanting this getaway," she whispered, hoping it didn't sound like a question. His response never came. He simply yanked the wheel hard onto a gravel road marked by nothing but a weathered wooden sign, "Still Water Trail, restricted access." Leah's brow furrowed. "This isn't our usual route to the lake. There's an alternate path," Matthew explained. "Less crowded, more picturesque." Gravel and fallen pine needles crunched beneath the tires. The surrounding forest grew denser, branches scraping the vehicle like skeletal fingers. The dashboard GPS screen went black. No reception. Uneasiness began crawling through Leah's chest. "Matthew," she said carefully, "something feels off about this." He refused to meet her gaze. "You're perpetually anxious these days." Her jaw clenched. These days, as if her anxiety was some recent indulgence rather than the natural result of being crushed in a vehicle rollover 18 months prior, watching her career, mobility, and freedom crumble simultaneously. "Do you even care about me anymore?" she whispered, barely audible. His laugh was brief and hollow, squeezed from somewhere deep in his throat. "Why would I bring you here if I didn't care?" The path narrowed to barely more than a trail. Moss-covered boulders protruded from the ground like enormous teeth. Matthew brought the car to an abrupt halt in a clearing encircled by towering evergreens. Leah scanned their surroundings. No cabin, no dock, just trees and a silence so profound. It seemed alive. "We're not at the lake," she observed. "I'm aware," Matthew replied, exiting the vehicle. He walked to her side, opened her door, and unfastened the restraints that secured her. His movements were mechanical, not tender, not cautious, just efficient. Leah's heart began racing. "What's happening here?" she demanded. "I need to show you something," he said. "Just wait a moment," but waiting wasn't an option. Something primal was already screaming warnings inside her. "Matthew, don't." She grabbed for his arm as he unfolded her wheelchair and locked it in position. He avoided her eyes. He lifted her as he had countless times before, supporting her knees and back, but the tenderness was absent. Only function remained, only force. Once she was seated, he pushed the chair forward with startling speed. Stop, she pleaded, panic rising. Matthew, stop. The chair lurched as they reached the edge of a small cliff, a slope descending towards Stillwater Lake, now visible through the thinning trees. The water appeared dark and vast, reflecting the storm clouds above. Wind carried scents of rain, pine, and something else, something raw and metallic. He positioned the chair toward the slope. Leah went rigid. Matthew's voice dropped to a whisper. I'm sorry, Leah, truly, but I can't continue like this. What? What are you saying? You used to be extraordinary, he said, fearless. The woman I married could outpace anyone. And now, he gestured vaguely at her legs. Now you exist as if you're already gone, and I'm trapped here, buried alive alongside you. Her mouth opened, but no sound emerged. I tried, he continued, stepping backward. But I don't want this. Existence, not anymore. He turned and walked toward the car. Leah screamed his name. He didn't pause, didn't flinch. The car door slammed shut. The engine roared to life. Gravel flew as he reversed, then sped down the trail and vanished. Just like that, she was abandoned. Leah sat frozen in the silence that followed, a silence thick with disbelief. Trees swayed. The lake murmured. Her heartbeat was the only sound loud enough to feel real. She blinked. Her hands shook. She reached for her phone, tucked inside her jacket, and pulled it out. No signal, naturally. She examined the slope below. Loose earth, roots, and rocks, too steep for her to descend, too uneven for her wheels. The sky above split open, releasing the first fragments of sleet. Leah Morgan, former lead engineer on a $50 million hydroelectric project, sat alone in her broken body, abandoned by the man who had promised to remain through sickness and health. She gritted her teeth. Then, from deep within the woods behind her, she heard its footsteps. Not animal, human, coming closer. The footsteps were measured, deliberate boots crushing undergrowth, not sneakers or soft hiking shoes. Leah's breath caught. She gripped her wheelchair's sides and attempted to turn. The left wheel snagged on a root and jerked to a halt. She was trapped. Hello? She called out, her voice strained. The sound dissolved into the forest. Another step, closer. Then a figure emerged between the trees, tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a faded military green jacket with the hood partially up, a rifle slung across his back. Leah's panic spiked. I'm not trespassing, she said quickly, forcing steadiness into her voice. My husband, he left me. I didn't intend to be here. The man paused. He slowly pulled back his hood. Her stomach plummeted. She recognized. That face older by a few years, more weathered around the eyes, jaw shadowed with stubble, but unmistakable. Cal, she whispered. He blinked, equally shocked. Leah. A moment of stunned silence passed. Wind rustled the branches overhead. What the hell are you doing out here? He asked, stepping closer, his tone sharp, not unkind, but alarmed. She tried to respond, but the lump in her throat refused to budge. Tears stung her eyes, not from fear, but from sheer disbelief. He crouched beside her chair. Jesus, you're trembling. Are you injured? She shook her head. No, just cold, and I don't know what to say. Start with this, he said. Did someone abandon you here? Her voice cracked. My husband. Cal's expression hardened. He remained silent initially, scanning the clearing before glancing down the trail. I spotted a black Audi heading down the service road about 10 minutes ago, he muttered. Driving like it had stolen something. He looked at her again. How long have you been out here? I don't know. Maybe 30 minutes. Do you have your phone? She held it up. No service. Naturally, he muttered. Not up here. He stood. Come on, you're coming with me. Before she could respond, he was already releasing the brake on her chair, and steering it gently away from the slope. "I can manage myself," she said instinctively. "I know you can," he replied without offense, "but not on this terrain." That was accurate. Her wheels caught again within seconds. Without seeking permission, Cal reached down and lifted her easily, carefully, as though she weighed nothing. "I'll return for the chair," he said, already moving. "Right now, we need to get you warm." She couldn't argue, could barely breathe. His jacket smelled of wood smoke and pine. His arms were steady, strong. He moved with the confidence of someone experienced in this, not carrying her specifically, but carrying people. Injured people. Broken people. "I didn't know you had returned," she said finally. 3 months now, moved into the old Peterson place. "I thought you were in Nevada, still with the state police." "No longer," he said flatly. "Retired early." "That's a story for another time." They broke through the trees and emerged onto a narrow, rocky trail. His pickup, a weathered gray Ford, sat parked beneath a cluster of pines. He opened the passenger door with one hand and gently placed her inside. "I'll be right back," he said, then disappeared into the woods again. Leah sat in stunned silence. Her body ached, nerves buzzing. Her mind couldn't process what had just occurred, what nearly had. 10 minutes later, Cal returned, pushing her wheelchair, its wheels caked with mud. He tossed it into the truck bed, climbed in, and started the engine. The heater groaned to life, and the cab began filling with blessed warmth. Neither spoke as he pulled onto the trail, maneuvering the truck down the incline like someone who'd driven it countless times. "I don't understand why he did it," Leah said at last, staring out the window. "I do," Cal replied simply. She turned toward him, surprised. "I've encountered men like him before," he continued. "Men who appear strong externally but are made of paper inside. When life changes, when the woman they love becomes someone they must adopt to, they crumble because their love wasn't built for anything beyond convenience." Leah blinked. "That's somewhat generous, calling it love. Fair point." The silence returned, heavier this time. He drove without GPS, turning onto a dirt road that led uphill through a thick grove. At the summit stood a modest A-frame cabin, wood-paneled, smoke already curling. From the chimney. "You live here?" she asked. "Yes, renovated it myself." "You'll be safe here." "Safe?" The word struck her like a stone through glass. He parked, stepped out, and returned to carry her inside without asking. She wanted to protest, but exhaustion overwhelmed her. The moment they entered the cabin, the scent of cedar and burning pine enveloped her. The space was small but clean, warm, and practical, clearly inhabited but not cluttered. Cal placed her gently on a wide sofa by the fire, then disappeared into what appeared to be a small kitchen. She heard water boiling, cabinets opening. "Tea." "Or coffee," he called. She swallowed. "Tea." He returned with a mug and handed it to her silently. She accepted it with trembling hands. Steam curled between them. Cal sat across from her, elbows on his knees, watching her carefully. "I don't know what to do," she said. "I mean, what now?" "Contact the police." "Tell them what?" "That my husband tried to dispose of me in the woods." His expression remained unchanged. "Yes," he said. "That's exactly what we're going to do." The fire crackled softly in the stone hearth, casting flickering amber light throughout the room. Leah sat wrapped in a heavy knit blanket, her tea now lukewarm in her lap. Her fingers rested on the handle, but she hadn't sipped it recently. She couldn't stop staring into the flames. "Need anything?" Cal's voice came from the kitchen, low and calm. Leah shook her head, then realized he couldn't see her. "No, I'm fine. Thank you." He walked back into the room, carrying a small plate with crackers and sliced apples. He placed it on the coffee table before her and sat down again across from her. His posture relaxed but alert, the way someone trained to read people always sat. She glanced at him. "You don't need to babysit me," she said, attempting a smile. "I'm not going to throw myself back into the woods." Cal's expression didn't waver. "I know. I just dislike leaving people alone after they've experienced shock. Is that from your training?" He nodded. "Partially. The rest comes from personal mistakes." Leah didn't ask what he meant. Not yet. There was already enough weight between them. "How long have you lived here?" she asked instead, scanning the room. "A few months. Bought the place after I left the department. Left or were pushed." That made him grin, the first genuine smile she'd seen from him since he appeared like a ghost in the woods. "You always did cut through small talk." She shrugged. "Some of us don't have time for polite fiction anymore." He looked at her, something soft in his eyes. "I left officially. Early retirement, burnout, injury, mix of things." "You were hurt?" "Not the kind that shows up on x-rays." She nodded slowly. That kind of pain she understood intimately. There was a lengthy pause. Only the fire moved between them. Leah finally said it. "I didn't think I'd ever see you again." Cal looked up. "Yeah, well, small town, big trees." She let out a small laugh. It surprised her. "You look good," he added after a beat. "Different, but still you. Different how? Less apologetic." That landed deeper than she expected. Her throat tightened. "I used to apologize for taking up space, for needing help. Now I still need help, but I stopped apologizing for it." Cal nodded, the corner of his mouth twitching like he wanted to say something but thought better of it. She took a slow breath. "You said earlier we'd contact the police." "I'm not sure that's wise." Cal leaned forward slightly. "You think they won't believe you?" "I think Matthew's skilled at pretending. He's charming. He's an attorney. He'll twist it into something else, say I wandered off or had a breakdown. And I don't have proof." "You don't need proof to file a report. You just need to speak up." Leah stared at him. "Do you believe me?" "I wouldn't have carried you half a mile through mud and thorns if I didn't." Her chest tightened. She'd forgotten what it felt like to be believed instantly, without suspicion, without "are you sure?" or "maybe you misunderstood." "But you're right about one thing," Cal continued. "He's going to lie. He'll move quickly to get ahead of whatever version you tell. So we need to be smart and fast." "We?" "I'm not letting this go." She looked at him for a long time. "Why? Why are you helping me like this? It's been over a decade." Cal's jaw flexed. "Because I know what it looks like when someone loses themselves under someone else's control. I've seen it before. I've lived it, sort of." He didn't elaborate, but the room grew quieter anyway. "Besides," he added, "you were the only person who ever stood up for me in high school. Remember that day with my father in the parking lot?" "I do," she said quietly. "I was terrified. But you looked like you were going to disappear. You kept me anchored," he said. "I didn't forget that." She felt warmth rise in her throat again, not from the fire, something older, familiar. They sat for a while without speaking. She finally picked up a cracker and bit into it, more to keep her hands. "Busy then from hunger?" Cal checked his watch. "Do you want to call someone? An attorney? Your sister, maybe?" "I don't have one, and I haven't spoken to my brother in years." He nodded. "Then start with the truth. Tell me what happened between you and Matthew after the accident." She hesitated. "Everything changed after that day. I was hit on a highway just outside Pueblo. Crushed from the waist down. They rebuilt what they could, but Cal didn't look away. No pity, just focus. Matthew was there initially, supportive, but gradually he took control of everything, my passwords, my medical information, my business finances. He said it was temporary, just while I healed, but it never stopped. He decided what I wore, who could visit, what I could post online. It was like being in a very polite prison. And now? Now, I guess he wanted a clean exit. Cal's voice was low. It wasn't just an exit. He intended for you to disappear. Leah gripped the mug tighter. I think so too. We'll prove it, Cal said. But first you rest. Tomorrow we investigate. She nodded slowly, her body suddenly heavy with exhaustion. Her nerves had burned all day. Nothing remained but smoke. As he helped her to the spare room, wide doorway, low bed already prepared, she paused at the threshold. This place is accessible, she said. You planned it that way? Cal's face shadowed. After I left the forest, they weren't certain if I'd walk again, so I planned for all possibilities. Leah stared at him. But you recovered. I did. He looked at her then. And now you will too. For the first time since her wheels touched that forest floor, Leah Morgan believed she might. Morning arrived gray and sharp. The clouds hung low over the treetops as if they hadn't moved all night. Leah awoke to the smell of coffee and the hum of Cal's truck idling somewhere outside. She didn't call out, didn't need assistance. She eased herself into the wheelchair Cal had retrieved from the clearing and rolled into the main room. The fire was out, but warmth still clung to the wood-paneled walls. A mug waited for her on the table, still steaming. There was a yellow sticky note on it in blocky handwriting. Went to town, back in an hour, locked the door. Leah smiled despite herself, still cautious, still careful. She drank the coffee in small sips, then wheeled herself to the far end of the cabin where Cal had set up a small desk. On it sat a battered laptop and a portable router. To her surprise, the signal was strong. She opened the browser and stared at the blank search bar. For a moment, her fingers hovered over the keyboard, unsure where to begin. Then she typed, Daniel Morgan missing wife. The results were immediate and predictable. A photo of her older, post-accident appeared next to a headline. Local attorney seeks help finding disabled wife missing from rural retreat. Her stomach turned. She clicked through. Matthew's face filled the screen, solemn and anguished. His hair was perfectly tousled. His suit was impeccable. She's been struggling to adjust, the article quoted him. We thought time away might help, but I never imagined she'd vanish. The reporter's tone was sympathetic. There was even a brief video. In it, Matthew looked directly into the camera. Leah, if you're watching this, please come home. We can work through this. Leah slammed the laptop shut. Her hands trembled not with fear, with fury. He was spinning it perfectly. Concerned husband, overwhelmed wife, disappear her body, control the narrative. He didn't think she'd survive not just the forest, but the shame, the disbelief, the story he was crafting. But here she was. The door opened. Cal stepped in, brushing snow from his shoulders. You okay? He asked immediately, catching the tension in her frame. She turned the chair to face him. He's already gone to the media. Cal's jaw tightened. Of course he has. He's painting me as unstable, broken, depressed. Cal walked over and set a brown paper bag on the table. Then we hit back before he completes his version of the story. She raised an eyebrow. With what? It's his word against mine. Not entirely. He pulled out a phone, not hers inlaid. It on the table. Leah stared. Whose is that? Yours, sort of. I set it to record before I picked you up yesterday. Left it running in my jacket. Her eyes widened. You recorded the clearing? Everything from when I found you to when we got to the truck. I figured I might need proof of what I witnessed. She blinked, speechless. I haven't listened to it yet, he said. Didn't want to cross a line. Leah reached for it slowly. You didn't. You saved my life, and now you might save the truth. Cal nodded. We're going to need more, though. If he's already leveraging his connections, we need someone who knows how to hit back legally. You know someone? Cal gave a dry smile. I used to run surveillance for the state police. I know a few people who still enjoy antagonizing lawyers. He reached into his coat again and pulled out a second phone. This is a burner. Use it for text only, untraceable, encrypted. Leah held it, stunned. Jesus, what kind of retirement are you in? The quiet kind. Then more seriously, I didn't bring you here just to hide, Leah. I brought you here to buy time, to build a case. Her voice was quiet. What if the case isn't enough? He met her eyes. Then we go public, but we do it our way. They sat in silence for a while. Eventually, she said, I need access to my old email, the one Matthew doesn't control. Cal nodded. Let's dig. For the next hour, Leah walked him through every old password she could remember. They recovered her backup Gmail linked to a forgotten design portfolio. Inside were dozens of emails from clients, suppliers, even her former assistant, all addressed to her. Proof she ran the business before Matthew took it over. Cal flagged the most relevant ones, downloading copies, saving them to encrypted drives. Then came a break. While Cal made lunch, Leah wheeled herself to the back window. The trees stood motionless outside. No wind, no sound, just snow and the waiting silence of high country. She frowned. In the distance, near the trailhead, she saw it, a tire tracked fresh, and next to it, a dark shape. Maybe a boot print that hadn't been there this morning. She didn't panic. She backed away from the window. Cal, she said, voice steady, I think someone's been near the cabin. He didn't ask how she knew. He just moved quiet, fast, efficient. He checked the perimeter, confirmed what she saw. Too fresh to be mine, he said, and no reason for anyone else to be up here. Could it be Matthew? Cal shook his head. He wouldn't come this far without a plan. He doesn't know where you are yet, but someone else might be looking. Leah's stomach turned. What do we do? Cal's voice was low, certain. We stay smart. We stay ahead. And we don't make the next move until we're ready to end this. Leah nodded. For the first time in months, she wasn't waiting to survive. She was preparing to fight back. By the time the sun began to slip behind the ridge, the cabin was glowing with the quiet intensity of purpose. The desk was cluttered with notepads, flash drives, old email printouts, and 2 laptops humming in. The background. Leah sat at the center of it, all focused, sharper than she'd felt in months. This is what I remember, she muttered, clicking through archived files. This version of me. Cal handed her a protein bar and a water bottle. The version that takes back the ground she lost. The version that builds her own blueprint. She was referring to the early design files she'd just recovered, architectural layouts, signed contracts, invoice records from the firm she'd built before the accident. The ones Matthew had later claimed he created, pitching to clients while she was still learning to sit upright again. These prove it was my business, Leah said. That I was the founder, that he only gained access after my injury. We'll back it up 3 ways, Cal said, already saving copies onto encrypted drives and uploading to a secure cloud folder. Time-stamped metadata, original client emails, project files, no room for doubt. Leah leaned back in her chair. I forgot how much I love this work, building something that matters. Cal didn't say anything, just watched her with that same calm intensity he always had when she wasn't looking. Tomorrow, he said after a beat, we go a step further. What? Step? I made a call this morning. An old contact from my unit. He does private investigation now, very discreet. Used to specialize in financial crimes, Leah blinked. You did all that before breakfast? You were still asleep, he said with a small shrug. Thought I'd make use of the quiet. What's his name? Thomas Denton. He's driving up First Light. If there's a trail we missed, fake accounts, rerouted assets, hidden communications, he'll find it. Leah hesitated. I want this to be legal, clean. It will be, Cal said. Every step, no shortcuts, just exposure. Leah picked up a pen, clicked. It once. Okay. Then we document everything. Lay it all out: his fraud, the isolation, the control. Build the case so tightly the DA can't look away. Cal nodded. That's the blueprint. They worked late into the night, Leah dictating, Cal typing. They mapped out every significant moment in the last 18 months, from the accident to the rehab center to the slow erosion of her independence. Phone passwords changed without consent. Bank accounts merged. Business decisions made without her input. Here, she said, scrolling through her bank's old statements. See this? The account labeled joint fund. That was my separate emergency fund. My parents left it to me after the accident. Matthew had no access to it until 6 months ago. Cal's eyes narrowed. When he started planning the exit, Leah nodded. The withdrawals started small, a couple hundred here, then thousands. He labeled them medical reimbursements. She turned to Cal, but I never saw a dime. That's theft, Cal said. Papered over with manipulation, but still theft. I was just overwhelmed after the injury, Leah said. Like maybe I had agreed to things and forgotten. You didn't forget. He made you question your own memory. Leah looked down at her lap. Gaslighting sounds like such a cliche, but it doesn't feel like one when it's happening. It feels like you're going crazy in slow motion. Cal's voice was steady. That's why we write it down to prove it wasn't in your head. She nodded again, jaw set. After a pause, Cal said, I have a question, one I've been holding back. She looked at him. Okay. If you hadn't seen me in those woods, if I hadn't shown up, he didn't finish the sentence. Leah stared into the fire, then said softly, I don't think I would have made it through the night. I couldn't move. I didn't have my medications, no flashlight, no cell signal. Her voice didn't shake. He knew what he was doing. Silence stretched between them. You said once you'd seen people like him before, she said. That you'd lived it, kind of. What did? You mean? Cal exhaled slowly. When I was a rookie, we responded to a domestic call. Husband, wife, same kind of dynamic. The wife had bruises but wouldn't press charges. She swore she'd fallen. He stood in the doorway the whole time, arms crossed, smiling like he owned the air she breathed. He stared into the fire. She died 2 weeks later. He found her at the bottom of their basement stairs. Leah's throat tightened. Did he go to jail? No, not enough evidence, no witnesses. He moved to Arizona and remarried. Within the year, Cal looked at her then. I don't let things slide anymore. Especially not this. Leah held his gaze. Me neither. They stayed there for a while, two people shaped by fire, no longer content to be silent. Eventually, Cal rose and moved toward the front door. He opened it slowly, scanning the darkness. Beyond the porch, then, without a word, he walked outside. Leah rolled over to the window to watch. He moved like someone trained for quiet, not paranoid, just prepared. He disappeared behind the shed, flashlight off. Leah waited. 3 minutes. Passed, then 5. Her stomach nodded. She was about to reach for the burner phone when Cal reappeared, holding something in one hand. He stepped inside and tossed it onto the table. Leah looked down. It was a crushed cigarette, but still warm. Neither of them smoked. Someone's watching the cabin, he said flatly. Leah's eyes darkened. Think it's him? Cal shook his head. Not Matthew. He's too careful to get that close. Then who? I don't know yet, he said. But whoever it is, they're getting bolder. Leah stared at the cigarette. A slow fire lit behind her ribs anger, steady and controlled. They want to watch, she said. Fine, let them. But when we're ready to strike, I hope they're close enough to hear the whole thing collapse. The morning air was brittle and cold, but the inside of the cabin pulsed with purpose. Thomas Dutton arrived just after 7, a tall, wiry man in his early 50s with the posture of someone who'd never forgotten boot camp. He wore a charcoal peacoat, carried a slim briefcase, and shook Leah's hand without hesitation. "You're not what I expected," he said. "Is that good?" She asked, dead deadpan. He cracked a smile. "It is now." They got to work immediately. Thomas pulled up banking forensics, tracing the flow of funds from Leah's original business accounts into Matthew's. He used software that mapped digital connections like a constellation transactions lighting up in arcs across the screen. "Your husband's good," Thomas muttered, fingers moving quickly. "But not good enough. Here, see this." Leah leaned closer. A transfer chain linked through 3 accounts, ending in a shell corporation listed under a Wyoming LLC, the beneficiary, a private trust. The listed trustee, Vanessa Barnes. "Your husband's paralegal," Thomas said. Leah stared at the name. "He didn't just want to get rid of me. He wanted to keep the business." Thomas nodded. "He would have moved on within months. Public sympathy. A new face. Your business whitewashed." Leah's pulse quickened. "Can we prove it? With what you've already recovered?" "Yes, but I suggest we make it even harder for him to deny." She tilted her head. "How?" Thomas reached into his coat and produced a voice recorder. "You said he's been calling, leaving voicemails?" "He's trying to build a case that you're mentally unstable." Thomas smiled, all sharp edges. "Good, that means he'll keep talking." And men like him always talk too much when they think they're still in control. Leah's fingers curled around the burner phone. "Then it's time I call him back." Cal looked up sharply from where he'd been scanning printed statements. "Leah," she held up a hand. "I'm not walking into a trap. I'm building one." They set up the recorder. Cal monitored the signal strength. Thomas briefed her on what to say and what not to. "You don't accuse him outright," he warned. "You imply you're scared. You leave space for him to fill. Let him expose his own strategy." Leah took a breath, heart pounding. Then she dialed. The phone rang twice. "Leah?" Matthew's voice burst through, sharp with surprise. "Is it really you?" She forced her tone low, tired, controlled. "I don't know why I'm calling. Where are you?" "I've been sick with worry." "The police. Don't lie," she said, just enough steel to interrupt him. A pause. Then he shifted. "I don't know what you're talking about. You left me in that clearing, alone. No chair, no medications, no way out." Another pause. "I didn't mean to. You said you needed Matthew." More silence. Then his voice dropped. "You're confused, Leah. You're still processing everything. You've been fragile since the accident." Leah glanced at Thomas, who gave her a subtle nod. "I want to come home," she said, pushing the words like stones through her throat. "But I need to know it'll be okay." "It will be," he said quickly. "It will. Just tell me where you are." "And Vanessa, will she still be around?" Another pause, longer this time. "She's just helping, that's all." "I don't want trouble," Leah said, quieter now. "I just want peace." Matthew exhaled. "Then stop digging. Don't go to the police. Don't try to turn this into something it's not. We can fix this, but only if you don't ruin us both." Thomas ended the recording with a click. "That's enough." Leah ended the call and stared at the phone. "Cal."